I got to tell you, well, I mean, Art Shamsky used to mention you all the time because there was talk at one stage that you and him were going to do a radio show from Foley's, and we had talked about that. But why I wanted to meet you was Red Foley used to talk so much about you.
Red's a great guy.
And Red gave me this. It's kind of like a caricature of you from your playing days.
It is a sandwich, right?
Right.
Okay.
Sandwich on the bat, and you signed it, and you said it's something to the fact that it's a Red Foley, a true DH, because I don't know if you remember the story, but Red was not very athletically gifted, but he could hit the ball, but he couldn't run. So in a media game at Yankee Stadium, Red hit a ball at the old Yankee Stadium, before they did it up in '74. He hit a ball off the outfield wall, and that's quite a.
No, did he really?
He did. Well, he did, because here's the story. So the next day, he's on the charter, and he's sitting next to Ralph Houck, and Ralph Houck finds out about this, and Ralph Houck says, he said, if I hit a ball, it's off the wall. He said, I'd have been on third. And Red turned to me and said, yeah, Ralph. He said, but who would you have gotten to hit it for you?
Oh no! Red must have been halfway in the outfield when he hit that ball. He must have been halfway out there. I wish I would have known that.
Yeah. So actually, the thing is, I actually also have a copy of Ralph Houck's biography that he autographed to Red, and it's something to the effect of, Blomberg might have been the first, but if I'd have had my way, you'd have been my DH.
Oh, no. Let me ask you something. Sean, actually, how long were you open down there?
17 years.
Actually, how many players have you had there? Have you ever taken account?
Hundreds.
How many guys?
Hundreds.
Yeah. God.
Hundreds, yeah.
How many different teams do you say baseball teams visited Foley's?
Every team. Somebody from every team would be, whenever the team would come in, whether it would be the managers, the front office people, the clubbies, the players. I have friends on all 30 teams. When I made the announcement the Foley's closing, I got messages from, I think, 22 of the 30 teams, from either GMs or managers and stuff like that, reached out. Wow. So former players.
Wow.
So
I know one thing, the coach, the coach, Tony Ferrara, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Tony used to talk about you, and, Sham used to talk, and, we got to go down there. And he said, when you have a book, we'll go down there. I'll get Sean, have you ever been down there before? I said, no. I said, that's the only place I've never been. And Fritz told me, he said, Fritz, he said, I'm going down to your place. And I said, I never get to go down to Foley's. He said, why not? I said, because I've never been asked. So your next restaurant, or whatever you have.
Well, consider yourself asked.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks,
Ron.
Thanks, Sean.
I'm going to make sure that I get him over to you, all right?
So we'll make that happen.
I've known you for over 20 years.
More
than that, right?
Yeah.
And I know you've never stopped working, and so I know that there's something up your sleeve right now.
Well, I got to be honest with you. When everything went down last year, and I put the memorabilia away, and I basically said, 2021. I basically said 2021 was going to be a wash. So that's kind of my plan. I'm actually in Florida.
Really?
So I had I said I paid my staff for as long as I possibly could afford to. When I ran out of money, I put the memorabilia away, and I had bought a condo down here a couple of years ago, and I moved down here. Actually, right now, I'm actually working at Publix. So I went from talking baloney to slicing baloney.
Hey, let me tell you something. That's where I just came back from. They got the best key lime pie in the world, don't they?
Yes, they certainly do.
Wait a minute, better key lime pie than Chick-fil-A?
Oh no, I don't like I don't like the chicken sandwich. I like no. If I get a ham, what? I still like. I hate to tell you, and this really sounds bad. I still like McDonald's, and that sounds bad.
Uh-oh.
I'm just telling you. I still like that. Sean, let me ask you a question now. Where in Florida are you living? Can I ask you, or you tell me?
Sure,
Or
I'm in Dunedin.
Oh, you're in Dunedin. Okay,
Yeah.
near Orlando.
Huh?
Near Orlando.
No, Dunedin. I'm near Clearwater. In Tampa.
You're in Dunedin. Oh,
But-
not the land. Oh, you're in Dunedin. Okay, where
Yeah.
Tampa is.
Yeah,
By
but
the Gulf Coast, right?
yeah, I can actually ride my bike to the Jays games.
Really?
Yeah.
You know Rob Wilson, then, don't you?
No, Rob Wilson.
The literary agent of Bill Madden and
I know Bill Madden well, so
yeah, Bill Madden, and he's for Sham and for Marty and for myself, and he has a lot of people. And he lives in he used to live up in New York, and now he lives in where does he live? Clearwater. There's a lot of people live in Clearwater.
there's a lot of people moving down here. House properties have gone through the roof.
Oh gosh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
be quite honest. Mr. T will tell you, we've seen people leave the city in bundles. I mean, there's certain places you go and it's like a ghost town.
is it really?
It's where Hunt and Fish Club is a ghost town right now. Times Square is a ghost town.
Yep.
It's ugly.
Where you are now, Nelson, how did they clean it up a little bit down there?
The street is cleaner on the days it rains. How's that? No.
No.
They haven't. There's a bit more foot traffic than there used to be, so it doesn't look quite as bad because it's a little bit busier. I've spoken to a bunch of the local politicians, and it seems like they've kind of figured out that they need to clean it up before Broadway comes back, or Broadway isn't coming back. So we're hoping that they start to do things with the shelters and bring more police in and stuff like that. But they've really let it get out of hand during the pandemic, and it's quite unfortunate. And if truth be told, we've been in our location since January of 2015. It was already starting to, even before the pandemic, it was starting to feel a little less secure down there. It was still fine, but just not quite as secure as it had previously. And the pandemic it became a collapse. What the city did there was criminal. Having said that, it's still New York, and until they could figure out a way to move Broadway and the Yankees to Nashville, it'll always come back because it's still New York.
Oh yeah, but the good part about it is when the athletes start coming down there, these guys going to start moving quick. You know, I mean, they'll start moving quickly, and I can't wait till we go down there. I'm looking for that big steak guy.
About that, hopefully by July 1st, we're going to start reopening up the city to 100%, including stadiums. So some sort of normality is coming back to the city now.
What'll happen is once the offices, right now, the office buildings in Midtown are still like 10 to 15% capacity. So it means less foot traffic, less people spending money. It's a big problem. And it makes tourists feel somewhat unsafe. Once offices start to fill up, everything will filter down from there. And I know today, Jamie Dimon announced that enough of this Zoom and home work stuff. He wants people back in offices. Everything will trigger in New York once people go back to work. I truly believe that. And it'll also help to get a new administration, but we don't have to go in that direction.
Yeah, we could do 10 episodes on that.
Yeah, we can talk on and on and on, but, hopefully we'll get back to some normalcy. We'll start getting people going to places like the Hunt and Fish Club, and, Foley's is definitely is being missed already.
Oh, yeah.
I could only imagine the tons of stories you could tell us about the players, the people, the relationship you built with a lot of these people. We would love to hear some of those stories.
I mean, that's what, to be honest with you, I mean, what I always said, what made Foley's was the people, the friends of Foley's, and you know, that's what I miss. I mean, I don't miss too much about New York right now, but I do miss the people. So I mean, what I've been doing is I've been having Zooms or WhatsApp or whatever I can do once a week with some of our customers, some of our staff, just staying in touch with people. You know, staying on social media. You know, I mean, that's, you know what it's like. I mean, the customers are what make it. You know, I mean, without the customers and the interact, because you never know who's coming through your door. You know, you can look it up and all of a sudden it's Art Shamsky sitting at the bar, or David Wright's at the bar, or Brian Cashman's behind the bar. You know, so that's what I miss. And I'll be honest with you, that's why I went to work with Publix. I wanted to do something where I could interact with people, you know, in a safe environment.
I hate to tell you, it's the best. I think it's the best supermarket in the country.
Yeah.
And you know, we got tons of them in Atlanta and down in Georgia. And
Yeah,
I mean, they got the freshest food. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, they treat the staff well. They treat the customers well. You know, it's one of those. I mean, I always said it's a bit like Disney. I always loved to watch how Disney operated and how, you know, everybody was so polite and everybody was so kind, and it was like, you know, it was a welcoming experience, and that's what Publix is about. But part of the reason why that is that the staff actually own Publix, because it's
Really?
the only people who can buy stock in Publix are Publix employees.
Yes, no debt. Public has no debt.
Yeah.
There's no debt.
And
And-
it used to be for every 40 hours that you worked, you got to share. That has since changed, but you have the option, you know. So there's a great story about when Publix door opening, because they're up by you, Ron. So they're in Atlanta. So
Yes, yeah.
and this businessman came in, and he'd never been in a Publix before, and he's looking around and he's like, "Well, this is pretty impressive." So as he buys a couple of things and he's checking out, and he turns to the cashier, and she's been very nice and very polite, and he says, "This is a beautiful supermarket." He said, "Who owns it?" And she thought for a second. She said, "I do." And he was a little taken aback, and he's like, "Yeah," he said the staff own Publix. So, you know, and you know, that was it. I mean, the two things that I've done since Foley's closed is I volunteer 2 homeless shelters down here, and I work with Publix. So
Oh, wonderful.
you know,
Great.
so it's just, you know, what keeps me sane, because I mean, that's, you know, this you spend. I mean, I'm a 6th generation bar owner. Okay, I've been in this business my entire life. I've done everything in this business except park cars. You know, I mean, when I met Joe first, I was behind the bar on I guess 32nd Street.
32nd Street.
And you know, I left Ireland, you know, when I was 21, but from I was 15, all I ever wanted was to own my own bar, and that came true for me in 2003 and with Foley's. And I mean, it was, you know, I mean, but it's the people I miss, you know. I mean, Nelson, tell you, dealing with the city and dealing with the SLA and dealing with the health department, the fire department, that's not fun. But
Oh, it's horrible. I was just going to say, you could attest, the business itself actually stinks. It's all about the people.
Precisely. I mean, that was it. I mean, I kind of feel guilty. I mean, right now, you know, like I said, 2021 is a wash. So I said, you know what, I'm doing. I've never felt happier than to do now. I have no responsibility. I have no authority, and I have no money. You know? But you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still getting, you know, 25 tax letters from the New York State. You know, about we closed the doors when everybody else did. I guess March 12th, March 13th, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I paid the staff as long as we could. So I paid the staff, I guess, till I ran out of money sometime in June. And so I got a call from New York State saying that my workers' comp, that I hadn't filed the 3rd quarter in time, and that the penalty for not filing it was $15,000. Now I said, hold on a second. I said, I closed in March. I said, I paid all the staff till the end of June. I said, and the policy didn't expire until August. So I said, where in the world do you possibly think? I said, and you know what? If you want $15,000, I said, here I am in Florida. I said, I make $13.50 an hour. I said, how much of that would you like? So, yeah, I mean,
I actually got that letter also. But there was a way to protest. For me, they only wanted 10,000 though. They must have liked me better than you.
Yeah.
But there was a way to protest online. Okay, and then I got another email saying I didn't know $10,000. So okay, I figured I have to stop talking to them.
Yeah, I called them up and I just said, you know, because I just for nothing other than shits and giggles, I called them up and I actually got somebody who was willing to who saw the bigger picture. She said, yeah. I said, truthfully, I said, you owe me money. And she said, actually, yeah, we do, but she said, you're not going to get it. So I said, okay.
Yeah.
You know, the good part about it, all your friends and your fans at your place, they would have chipped in and paid for the whole thing, you know?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you know, because people said to me, they said, oh, you know, why didn't you reach out to, you know, your friends that are athletes and you know, and to be honest with you, at the time, it was just a case of, you know, I had an asshole landlord who, for the last, you know, the building I'm in was a really old building. I mean, and there's a great story. I mean, there's the history attached to it. There were two companies that were formed on the site of where Foley's was, and one of them was IBM, and because they started out as a time card, you know, clock card company, and the other one was Procter and Gamble. You know, the first time Procter and Gamble shook hands about getting together was at a table in what was then George's. You know, but so it got sold a couple of times, and the last guys that bought it, they bought it, I guess, in like 16 or 17. And, you know, basically my lease was up in 2024. And every 6 months I got a letter from them saying, just to let you know, well, and you know, the guys, you know, I get an estoppel certificate every time that they would refinance, and they would say, right, just to let you know, your lease is up in 2024. You're not getting another one, and you're not entitled to a new lease. You're not entitled to renegotiate. You're not entitled to buy the building. Not that I would have bought the building. So, I mean, I had basically started the process of where Foley's was going to move to. I mean, I'd love to move Foley's into a ballpark because it's got the perfect setting for it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? And I kind of became, you know, the face of, I mean, I was the first one to kind of say that I was leaving. You know, and everyone said, oh, you're the smart one. I mean, I wasn't smart. I ran out of money. I had literally had no money. I mean, I got to the point where I didn't have enough money to pay my mortgage on my house. Or otherwise I'd still, because I wanted to keep, I mean, my staff, that's, you know, your staff are your family, you know, and I had, you know, I had 19 staff, and between those 19 staff, they were with me 200 years, if you want to count them up, you know, and so I wanted to take care of them as long as I possibly could. In fact, I'm putting up a pop-up store for Father's Day, because people said, oh, we missed the last one, we want to get some stuff. You know, so we're going to sell Foley's merchandise. All of that money, I don't see a penny of it. All of that money goes to help staff that works for me.
You know, it's funny. My staff did a GoFundMe page for they asked me for legal reasons, I couldn't be the one to create it, right, but I approved them to create it, and I promoted it online with some of our regular customers. And that money helped the staff, particularly the lower paid ones, right, through the pandemic. And the higher end staff actually set it up as a grant, like they'd give it away, and as a loan program where some of them actually started to pay it back when unemployment came in, just so they can give it to somebody else. And they sort of managed this all by themselves.
Yeah, I was approached about that. I actually have met the guy who started GoFundMe. My issue is they take 7% off the top.
Yep.
So this guy flaunts the fact that, you know, he's taken 7% of people that need brain surgery or people that are out of work. And so I stayed away from, I mean, I did have people that said to me, said, hey, what do you need? And, you know, some of like the baseball community, you know, I mean, one community in particular that was very good to me was the umpires.
Oh, really?
I mean, they're all friends of mine, but I mean, I was getting checks, I was getting, you know, Venmos, you know, and they literally helped me through. And like I said, we got to the end, we got to the end of June, and by that stage, then I mean, a couple of guys in the kitchen that that hadn't, that I knew wouldn't have been able to get unemployment. We were able to take care of them, or I was able to get them at least work and what have you. So
Yeah, they were the main beneficiaries we had in mind of the GoFundMe. Same.
yeah,
issue.
I said to them, you know what, bartenders are making $500 and $600 and $700 a night. I said, look, I'm sorry that if they've fallen on hard times, but if you haven't the wherewithal to put a couple of those dollars to one side, when the guy in the kitchen's got 4 kids and 2 wives, and
and they work like dogs.
Yeah, they do. They work like dog. They work like well-paid dogs now. When you consider that, as like I said, I had no, the minimum wage. The guy washing dishes is making $15 an hour, $22.50 for overtime, and I'm like, I'm making $13.50 now, and I'm very happy with it. So.
Yeah, the 15 didn't bother me until it turned into 22.50.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I never had a problem with the 15. The 15, no. Because you know what? But what people don't realize is what the 15 did was, I had, so I didn't have as big a staff, let's say, as you would have had. And I had more line cooks per se, as opposed to chefs, and the $15 didn't, but all of a sudden, I had 3 line cooks who were really happy making $17.50 or $18 an hour, which was pretty decent because again, it's
right.
$20-something when it goes to overtime. But they came to me and they said, hold on, if Pasquale's making $15 washing dishes, I'm not going to cook for $70. So
everyone, the minute it went to 15, everybody up the chain went higher.
Yeah, but my issue was paying the tipped employees $10 an hour.
That's a killer.
Yes. Because like I said,
that is a killer.
You have this, because no one of my tipped employees making less than $1,000 a week.
By me, it was more like double that, and it was.
Well, no. I'm saying, and I'm being conservative. I'm saying no one. I mean, the least one, the kid that's only working like 3 shifts a week. That's what they at least make.
And this law gave them all a $10,000 raise.
Yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But my worries going forward, and I see it down here now, is just that, they can't get staff to work. I have a buddy that actually owns a pizzeria in the same mall that I work in, and at least 2-3 days a week he's closed because they can't get the staff to.
When we reopen, we're only going to be 5 days a week because I can only staff 1 shift.
Yeah,
I don't have enough.
Yeah, down in Atlanta, you can't find anybody to work.
No,
right. I'm sure it's the same. The problem is unemployment benefits plus $300 are too high.
Yeah.
It disincentivizes people to take a job.
Yeah.
So people come back to work.
I have a buddy down here, and he has 4 guys in the kitchen, and they're all brothers, but he literally has adopted this family. Yeah, he's basically sponsored all their visas, helped get all their citizenship, co-signed all their houses, and so and he was literally, he kept paying them as long as he possibly could, and so when he got ready to reopen, he went, like there's the head brothers go and talk to him and said, hey, we're getting ready to reopen, and I want you guys to come back. And the guy said, look, right now, he said, we're getting $700-800 a week for staying at home. He said, if you don't pay us that, why would we work for the same money? He said, I'll match it. He said, why would we work for the same money? He said, no. He said, look, when the money runs out, when the unemployment runs out, then we'll come back to work.
Yeah.
Right. What we're going to need, guys, is when everybody opens up, Rob, Ron, everybody, we need you all to come in and spend money.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
When everything gets reopened back up in New York, Nelson, we're gonna go and have a book signing.
We should do a book signing, a little presentation, yeah.
Let me tell you something.
I know you read the book. What you think of it?
I didn't get it yet.
No, he hasn't got it yet.
I read it.
Mr. T.
Rob, Mr. T, have you read it?
I read it. I read the whole thing in the last 2 days. Yeah.
Did you like it? Tell me.
Great.
Did you like? Is it a nice book?
It's an excellent book. And, you know, part of a hunk of my career was spent for 15 years reviewing books for People magazine. So I used to read 2 books a week, and this is an excellent sports book that you've written, Ron. And the thing that I like the most about it, because I know enough about sports and the Yankees and New York, is it's all true. And you really captured it, especially your anecdotes about Gaylord Perry and Reggie and what it was like then. I grew up going to the stadium 20, 30 times a summer when I was a kid. I'm 65 now, so I'm a little bit younger than you. And I grew up watching you play, and remember when, you know, you were a big, you know, it was a big celebration for my people because we had a handful of Jewish ball players, Mike Epstein, Kenny Holtzman, not too many.
Chansky.
Yeah.
Elliot Maddox.
No, Elliot's a converted Jew.
Yeah,
he's a converted Jew.
He's a converted.
Rod Carew, same thing.
No. Rod Carew is not Jewish. He married
Married a Jewish woman.
He married a Jewish woman, but Rod and got divorced from her, but he never converted. And people think that he's Jewish, but he's not. But you know, the good part about it was that, you know, I mean, with this book, and the guy, the co-author, his name was Dan Epstein, and he was a big writer for the Rolling Stones. And what I decided to do, I wanted to do something that was different about the book, because every baseball book, they put stats in it. And when you read all that stuff, you get boring. You're talking about flight elevation. You're talking about this guy hit 396 and he hit a home run and he just talked baseball. So I wanted to do something different. And nobody, and the people that are listening now, nobody ever thought that Thurman was other than a nasty guy. He was a nasty guy on the field, okay? He was dirty on the field. He never shaved. Sometimes he never took a shower when he went home. Sometimes he used to come to the ballpark the next day wearing the same clothes. But people didn't realize that he hated writers, except he was real good friend with Red Foley.
Yeah.
He was not good friends, but he respected Red Foley, Dick Young, Maury Allen, Phil Pepe, Joe Donnelly, all those guys. Okay, Jim Ogle.
Jim Ogle loved the Yankees. He used to take the 7th inning stretch in the press box.
Oh, absolutely. And okay, so I decided I wanted to do something different. I wanted to write a book about Thurman, about the guy that he was off the field. And people didn't realize that he was one of the nicest human beings you could ever meet. Hey, Nelson, have you ever met Thurman?
No, I met his widow. I met his wife.
Diana, okay.
Diane, I met her. I never met Thurman.
Mr. T,
he had a wonderful quote in
you
the
knew
book.
Thurman.
I never met Thurman either. I met his wife as well.
You never met Thurman?
No, you know, back then, I mean, I knew a handful of Yankees, and I met George Steinberg, met her many times. Okay. Have a lot of funny stories about him. I still remember where I was in my apartment. My roommate came running into the apartment and said, Thurman Munson died, Thurman Munson died, turn on the TV. And we were all stunned.
Oh my gosh. I spoke to him about 4 days before. They're in Cleveland. I believe they're in Cleveland. I'm not totally sure, but I spoke to him. He asked me how I was doing. And then I knew they had an off day. So I spoke to the traveling secretary, and he said he stayed home because Diana and his family was there because he's from Canton, Ohio. And he flew because I knew that he loved airplanes, because even when he was didn't have a plane, and when he didn't have a lot of money, he was always interested in aviation. Always brought in 2 things. Brought in the horse racing, football games that we all betted on, the football games. And he used to bring in aviation, airplanes. And, but, you know, unfortunately, it did happen. And, you know, and I'm trying to do everything I possibly can to get him in the Hall of Fame. The more, you know, the more great reviews that we get for our book, the book for 1 week was #1. Now it's down to like 12 now. And that's not bad after 2.5 weeks. You got millions of books out there, and it's doing extremely well. But I'm going to do everything I possibly can in my power to get the writers to understand Thurman. Sean, did you ever meet Thurman Munson?
Oh, no, but I met the wife, and I met this, I think his son, Mike.
Yes, Mike. Yes, correct.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I mean, I had the pleasure of like those guys that you talked about. We used to host the post party for the Writers' Dinner, and when they were still alive, I got to sit and listen to, you know, Pepe and Red and all those guys talking about Munson, and the fact that, you know, they respected him too, because he knew he had a job to do, they had a job to do, and you know, and plus it was a different time back then. You know, you didn't have social media, and you weren't tweeting stuff out, and you know, they could make off the cuff remarks, and Thurman was good at making off the cuff remarks, you know, and they wouldn't get printed.
No, not at all. And Thurman was the type of guy that, you know, if you're a regular beat writer, and if you ask a question, he might not like it, but he'll answer you. But he hated writers that were newly writers or just started being the beat writer for the Yankees from like Jersey, Connecticut, wherever in New York. And they always would ask a stupid question. And I was 3 lockers away from him. And Bobby Mercer was right next to Thurman, okay? And when people used to ask Thurman questions and you knew that they're like dumb, this guy would bite their head off. He would eat them up. And, you know, you hear it because all of a sudden you hear Thurman getting up and taking that stool and hitting against the wall. And those writers, they look like they want to run out. But that was the type of guy he was. But once he left the game, once he left the ballpark, you couldn't find a nicer person. We used to go and do the Jerry Lewis telethon every single year. We used to do the Shriners. We used to do so much stuff. We used to go to Sloan Kettering. We used to go to Lenox Hill. We used to go to all the hospitals that had cancer patients. You should see him going up to kids that have cancer. And first thing he would ask the parents, is there anything I could do for your son? And, you know, they said, just introduce yourself, because they knew, well, realistically, they knew that they're afraid to say anything because they didn't want him to bite the heads off of them. But they didn't know what type of person he actually was, because, you know, he was like a teddy bear. He would melt when he see these kids. And these kids will come up to him and with shaved heads, and you know how sick they are. And we go up and we hug them, and you know, we laugh at them, and they laugh, and then we leave crying. And you should see us, you know, I mean, with tears in eyes. And, you know, he has so much love in him. And with his family, Diana, that was his a love of his life and high school sweetheart. And, you know, he was a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He was an All-American, a Hall of Fame player, but he was a Hall of Famer family man once he was off that field. And that's what I projected in that book, what type of person he actually was. And
well, Ron,
yeah,
I wanted to let everybody know about the book that I really liked is you gave us the humanity of all the ball players then, because of you, Thurman, everybody on the team, because what you made clear, and a lot of people don't understand that in this day and age, is you guys weren't making any money back then.
no.
In fact, what was your meal money was $7 a day.
$7
You
a
weren't
day.
getting paid during spring training.
No.
And
Yeah, it's funny. I was.
We lost you.
I lost your volume, Mr. T.
We lost you.
Mr. T, I can't hear you.
He can't hear you. You know, I think he probably maybe.
He's Rob, you're on mute.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Now
I'm
you're
not.
back.
Oh, you're back now.
Okay,
Yeah,
what do you
we
miss?
lost you for a bit.
But people don't know. I made $6 or $7 for meal money, and we used to go to the ballpark. I tell you a real quick story. We lived up in New Jersey when we first came in. Thurman and I, we first lived in Paramus, and then we went out towards like Wyckoff, Ridgewood, around that area. Okay, and we used to pick up Elston Howard, and sometimes we'll pick up Phil Rizzuto. And we always, each and every time we went over the George Washington Bridge, somebody paid for it. And I think, I'm not sure, it was 50 cents maybe or $1 to go over. And then you had to pay to get back too, okay, back then. And I remember whenever, when it was Elston's time and Phil Rizzuto's time to pay, all of a sudden, you know, they about a mile away, they talking, laughing and whatever. As soon as they get to the bridge and it's their time to pay, of course they're sleeping, right? They have never paid. I have never seen Rizzuto, and I've never seen Nelson Howard pay for a toll, ever. And I always tell Arlene, I said, Arlene, your husband never paid anything for a toll to go to the ballpark and out to dinner or whatever. But, you know, but I loved them to death. They're you know what? We didn't make any money, but I would not take that. Those years that I had, to this day, these people are my brothers. Nowadays, these guys, they don't stay together. They don't do things together. They don't go out together. They take their limousines to the ballpark. They have their drivers stay outside. They don't do anything as a team. Nothing. You know, I mean, they had their financial advisors. They have their trainers. They have their, you know, nutritionists. You know, I mean, our nutrition, you know, only thing what we have, you know what they have in spring training, they had steak and this and whatever. We had soup. We had soup, eggs, and celery and carrots. That's what we had. And then we're lucky in a lot of places when we had games, a lot of people didn't have money, and we all used to go and eat White Castle hamburgers. Yeah, that's what we used to do.
One thing
And
I have
people,
to say about the book-
But they're good. There's nothing.
oh no,
wrong with
White Castles are delicious. I mean,
Exactly.
I loved them. No, I'm not talking. No. But hey, when you're eating like 12 White Castles at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you get up and you feel like a gigantic sea cow, you know, I mean, you don't feel good. And then you go to the ballpark, and then you got a game, and you know, you're excited because the game's over with like at 12:30, and you're lucky to find a diner that's open, and you got the leftover bagel, or you got the leftover eggs that they could fix for you. Hey, it was different. I mean, people think, God, you made the big leagues, you made tons of money. We didn't make any money, but hey,
Yeah, but
I
you
don't
see,
care.
that's what people don't understand nowadays.
They don't understand
They think that every ball player was the billionaire. Every ball player was making all this big money because now they're making all this big money. They don't understand that. I mean, in the book you wrote about you, Thurman, getting kicked out of a restaurant, and all you could eat.
Chateau Madrid
Madrid.
out at Fort Lauderdale. Out at Fort
Chateau
Lauderdale.
Madrid.
Chateau Madrid, you know, have you been to Chateau Madrid?
No, but I read your book.
Oh, but it was delicious. We used to go there every spring training. We probably went down there maybe 20 times. They got a great seafood bar. They had the fried shrimp, they had the lobster, they had the stone crabs. They had all the, you know, I mean, all the vegetables and whatever. I think we paid like $2.95 eating all we want. And we used to eat that food. I mean, it was like nothing. I mean, but people don't, hey, let me tell you something. Like I said before, we didn't make any money, but we had the greatest fun in the world. We had the greatest teammates in the world. And, you know, I mean, That's why they called us the Bronx Zoo, you know, because I mean, we would have arguments and we would kiss and make up. And but that's how we were. And that was
to us, like the fans, you know, we're not just fan of the baseball players like you, Ron, but we're also fans of like Nelson and Sean, because you know what, they also provide the service to us fans that players get to go to their establishment.
Oh, it's great to go to Foley's that I never been to. It's great to go to Nelson's place. You couldn't find nicer, better places. I mean, the ball players used to, as soon as they came into town, they go to Foley's. They always would talk about Foley's. And you know, and Nelson, you didn't have a restaurant?
No.
Nelson was just a baby then.
I was a boring lawyer back then. I didn't become interesting with restaurants until much later in life. No.
But you know, we used to go and we used to do things in the city. We would see. I frequent the Stage Deli. The Stage Deli. We used to live there. I mean, we used to. Hey, I taught Thurman how to eat pastrami and corned beef and half sours and potato salad and coleslaw and Dr. Brown's and a cheesecake and rice pudding. He never knew what that was. He never knew what Jewish food was. And then I used to go to Cleveland. He used to take me to White Castles. I never knew what White Castles were, you know. But it was fun.
The better end of that deal.
Oh no! Pastrami and corned beef. Let me tell you something. I would have to. Oh me. Let me tell you something. It's there's no delis in New York anymore.
No. Katz is about it.
Oh yeah, that's all in downtown.
That's on the 2nd Avenue. I guess that's about the last.
The
There's a
2nd
place
Avenue
pastrami
deli
clean
is now on 3rd
Lexington
Avenue, and
Avenue.
it's not the same.
No, but I can't mean Katz. But actually, it's funny. It's I worked for the guys who took over the Stage Deli, and I actually got it for nothing. But I pleaded with them just to, the health department basically closed them down to clean it up, and I mean it was iconic, and I pleaded with them just don't, just clean it up and reopen it as the Stage Deli, because along with the Carnegie Deli, that was when Katz.
I tried to take over the Carnegie, and we spoke to the owner before it closed or whatever. I hated the idea. I'm not looking to necessarily do more restaurant brands. It's not my thing at the moment. I'll just keep what I have. The one exception I would have made was to keep the Carnegie.
Yeah,
that was such a landmark spot.
Yeah, I mean, when the guys that took it over, I mean, they turned it into another Irish bar. I'm like, really? I'm like, 7th Avenue needs another Irish bar. I mean, you've got, people come all the time. It's just like, I mean, it was iconic. I was like, it was that one place that I agree with you. I mean, but this is the same guy who had an opportunity about 25 years ago. He was offered the Grand Central Oyster Bar for nothing, and he turned that one down too. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The interesting people. I was at the Carnegie one day with Tommy Lasorda when the original owner. I forget his name.
Leo Steiner. His name was Leo Steiner.
No, the one who took over. Was it Murray, who wore his pants up to his chest and then had suspenders? And after him came Sandy, the son-in-law, who that is a sordid affair. And I questioned him on the preparation about the way he made some of his food and why he didn't use kosher meats. And he looked at Tommy, looked at me, looked back at Tommy and goes, "Your friend's an effing idiot." Like, okay, thanks. I figured from that point on, I'll just shut my mouth.
Yeah, because they all used to stay at the Sheraton right across the street.
Right across the street, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, we used to go down to, you got the Old Timers Day, and you have the Bobby Richardsons, and they have the Bob Turleys, and they lived and died, over at the Stage Deli. And they named a sandwich after me and let me tell you, did you know I had a sandwich at the stage?
Yeah, but they put chopped liver on it. That was
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, chopped liver was terrible. We have corned beef, we have corned beef, pastrami, and chopped liver, and onions, and that's the worst. How in the world can they put that's terrible.
I
And you know what
got the sandwich, Ron, but I scraped the chopped liver off.
Oh, I can't eat the chopped liver. And wait a second. And they had Shamsky. They put you want me to tell you what our Shamsky sandwich was? Ham and cheese. It was ham and cheese. He'll tell you this from the, but it was fun. It was
You know what's funny, and I'm sure Sean would agree, like, and Ron, you know better than anyone. Like, so people would ask me, how do you get ball players to come to your place or other celebrities or singers? And I said, it's not a real art to it. It's not a science. It's more of an art. Like they go where they're comfortable and they're creatures of habit. And so you tend to see the same people coming to the same places, and then you get known as a place where it's comfortable for people with some degree of fame to come in and stay comfortable. And just some people know how to do it, and and there's no classes in it. Either it comes naturally or it doesn't, but it's just not an accident that people flock to certain places for years and will never step foot anywhere else.
Yeah.
I couldn't describe how to do it, but it all has to do with somehow they have to know they're comfortable by you. And once that happens, they're very loyal.
Yeah.
Who was your first athlete, Nelson? Who was your first athlete that came to your restaurant?
Oh God, at the Hunted Fish, it was either Derek or Michael Jordan was the first major one. We had a lot of the lessers. I don't remember who was there first, but it was either Derek or Michael Jordan. It might have been Jordan, because not long after we opened, the NBA All-Star Game was in New York.
Okay.
So everybody was around. So the night Jordan, then Charles Barkley and other like that. So we had a whole rush of NBA people coming in across the All-Star Game. If I remember, it was really weird. Some of the events were held in Brooklyn by the Barclays, and some of the events by Madison Square Garden. So it's funny, when I had no connection to Michael Jordan at all, but apparently he heard about us. He had somebody call from his plane and make a reservation and hold a room and all of this. And I'm like, how the hell did Michael Jordan find out about us, right? I told somebody, give them 10 minutes. If they're late, assume the reservation is bullshit and give it to somebody else. Thankfully, they were on time. I wouldn't have had a table.
Once you are known to be a good place, good people, they'll flock to you. How about Sean? Who was your first guy you had in there?
I had 4,000 signed baseballs, so I would have them all signed balls when they come in. It didn't matter what sport they were in. I had politicians, porn stars, you name it. But the first guy that I ever met was Joe McEwing, and Joe was with the Mets at the time. And Joe did one of the classiest things. He brought David Wright to Foley's, David's first night in New York, and David and I became good friends, and we still are good friends. But the classy part was Joe brought David to New York, to Foley's, and said, look, this is someplace where you'll always feel like home. And Sean will always take care of you. So whether it's after a game or whatever, he said, he's good. But the thing is, he did that knowing that the next day, Joe was getting sent down so that David got his roster spot. But back to what Nelson said, why a lot of the people like to come to Foley's was they were comfortable, they were never going to be bothered, and they were never treated any differently than anyone else. Part of the reason for that was most of the girls that I had working for me were Irish and knew nothing about, so they had no clue who Orlando Cepeda or Bobby Cox was. The only one I had an issue with, actually the only person probably that gave me the most headaches when he would come was John Hamm, because he would literally turn every woman in the room into mush. I would be getting text messages saying I would leave my husband for him. Seriously, I got to know John really well, because we were the home for the first Cardinal fans in New York. We're known for all baseball fans, but we were for years, the two of the biggest celebrity Cardinal fans were John Hamm and Andy Cohen. And Andy is another fan of, and Andy was very, very, very enamored with our men's room. Not for any other reason. I mean, our urinals were 140 years old, but I mean, he did interviews in our urinals. He did a photo shoot for Vogue where we had 26 people in our bathroom while he was doing the photo shoot. But John Hamm, you know, and so John would call me and he would say, hey, you know what, I'm in town. I want to watch the Blues game. Can you help me out? And I was like, sure, you know, I set him up at the table, but I would always bring somebody in. I would have a bouncer sit 2 tables away from him. And, you know, the rule of Foley's was nobody ever goes to the table. Now, if you interact with him while he's going to the bathroom or when he's coming out of the bathroom, that's a different story, but nobody ever went to the table. But he was the one that caused me. Yeah, I had some good fun. So actually, for one of their last World Series games, he was there with Paul Rudd. You know, and we also had Senator Claire McCaskill. I had no clue who she is. Three things we never discussed the Foleys was religion, politics, and the weather. Because you know what? If you had nothing better to talk about than religion, politics, and the weather, I'd often go somewhere else. But she came in and someone said, you don't know who she is? I said, I had no clue in the world who she is. I went up to her and I said, listen, I gotta be honest with you. I said, I know what side of the house you're on. I said, I know nothing about you except seemingly you're famous. I said, and I told her we don't talk politics. She says, you're a smart man. I wish I didn't. We talked baseball, but you know, I mean, that was the thing. It's like, you know what? I think one of the things was I always believed that I always believed in treating everybody with respect, and to me, it didn't matter whether you were the construction worker from Bayonne or Brian Cashman, you know, and that was the thing. And you know what? It's the same with my staff. It's like, you know, it's like we treat everybody the same, you know, and we just give them the, you know, a warm and welcome, you know, environment, and that's what they love, and that's what teams would, you know, that like especially with, yeah, you know, Ron, you know this. You're on the road for a long time. You know, when you're in a different city, it's nice to have someplace to go where you can just relax and feel like you're at home. And
Oh yeah,
that's
especially if you're like 0 for 40. If you go 0 for 40, you just want to go in a corner. You don't want to see any riders at all. If you've seen up in New York, you're 0 for 40, you know, I mean, the next day you're going to be in the back of the Daily News or the Post. And, you know, I mean, you don't want to see that. Now with these social media stuff, people take pictures of you. You don't know what they're going to take pictures of.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a scary situation. I mean, you know, you're walking down the street and, you know, somebody's going to take an autograph of you, and all of a sudden somebody's going to take a picture of you and this girl that you're writing an autograph for, and, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. You know, this social media really got out of hand. I don't, you know, I mean, it would not, with our team, I don't think social media would go over too well.
No.
As it was explained to me, an autograph, the celebrity has some control over. They see what they're signing. There's a little bit of control. That every telephone is a camera. There's no control at all. Like they own you. You have no say. There's nothing. If it's an offensive picture, you don't have to sign it. If they're rude, or like there's an element of control that the celebrity has. And that somebody has a phone wherever you stand, it's a problem. It's a real problem.
And everybody has one, and everybody's taking pictures of everybody. You know, I mean, it's a scary situation. I mean, it really is a scary situation.
It was different back then in the 1970s.
Oh no!
If you wanted to see a baseball team and where they were, you had to look up in the sporting news. It would say like what hotel they were staying at. Because
Correct.
all the teams that used to play the Mets used to stay at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Correct.
So I had friends that would always go to the coffee shop at the Roosevelt, and they would get autographs from all the players there. So one day my friends were getting ready to take the 7 train out to Shea, and they see Lou Brock standing in the middle of Grand Central Terminal. And they went over, they go, Mr. Brock, what are you doing? He goes, I missed the team bus. How much is a taxi to Shea Stadium? They said, oh, it's probably $5 or $6. He goes, I'm not paying that much. How much is the subway? They said, oh, it's 30 cents. So he said, are you going to Shea Stadium? They said, yeah. And Lou Brock took the subway. They gave him a token and he went out to Shea with them. That's what it was like back then.
Yeah, John Olerud, his entire career, both with the Mets and the Yankees, rode the subway. No one knew who he was.
A lot of people did, I mean, nowadays everybody knows everybody, and you just don't know what's going to happen. But it's no place like New York, and I know how bad it is now. I don't know when we're going to have Old Timers Day again. I really don't, because the hotels are not open, and I don't know if they're going to allow the older guys, whenever we're there, we're walking in the city. I don't know if they're going to allow us walking in the city. I mean, with the police force, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And so I think it's going to be a little while before we're going to have anything, any type of organized, stuff. But, I miss, you miss so many guys, and, unfortunately you couldn't go to Old Timers Day last year, and this year you don't have it. And a few people already passed, and, I mean, it's, it's awful. I mean, but for some reason, something's good going to come out of this. That's how I have to look at it. What goes up goes down, what goes down will go up. And something's going to be good out of this. And so, hey, it is what it is now. And it looks like we are going to come back. It looks like we're going to have some sports. It looks like baseball. And we're going to go to, we can't go to Foley's anymore, but we're going to find out where Sean's place is.
Before you go on, I just want to ask Sean, you were talking about earlier about that you would like to open up a Foley's in a baseball stadium. Do you have one in mind, or have you thought about that?
No, I mean, like I said, I took 2021 as, my gap year, and just to wait to see. I mean, because until the city's fully open, and then we got to see. I mean, I'm getting 20-25 emails a day from different realtors trying to sell me all these different, places in the city. But I mean, when you don't know what's, believe me, they're delusional with the rents. But I just gotta wait to see. So I mean, listen. Why I wanted to put in the ballpark with the memorabilia I have, which is all in storage. It's a perfect fit for a ballpark. Plus, I mean, selfishly, I put it into a ballpark. I mean, technically, I only have to work 81 days a year. And spend the other 280 days in Florida. So I mean, look, I'm open to. I don't know. I mean, there will be a Foley's 2.0 in some shape or form. I just, as of right now, I just don't know where, because I just want to wait. I mean, I equated it to golf. People say, well, what are you going to do next? I'm like, I'm going to wait for the ball to stop rolling, and when it stops rolling, then I'll know exactly what I need to do.
I mean, I think people would love the idea of a Foley's either at Citi Field or even Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, absolutely. I mean, that would be a total hit. I mean, that was the place.
And I know that when Steve Cohen had his when he went on Twitter and talked to the fans, and he said, I want to know what the fans want me to do. When I take over, what do you want? And everyone wants to bring back the black jerseys. But seemingly, I think 7 or 8 different people, and I had nothing to do with this, said, if you really want to do something, you could put Foley's into Citi Field. So we'll wait and see what happens.
Hey, I'll sign that petition.
The funny thing is, I mean, I've taken pot shots at the Mets, and for years. I mean, I used to be a huge Yankee fan. Like when Joe and I met first, I was a huge Yankee fan. But now I have so many friends on so many different teams. I'll be having breakfast on Thursday with the radio broadcaster for the Rays. Buck Martinez lives down not that far from me, so I have friends on all the teams. So I root for the guys that I know, but
exactly.
except the Astros and the Red Sox.
I like that.
Even at that. So you're talking about the Italian. I'm involved with the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm the president of the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame. And why am I the president of the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame? Because I named myself the president and nobody has ever questioned me on it. But, there's an Irish American Baseball Society that I've gotten involved with to try and help them. So I'm actually interviewing Duke Castiglione, Joe Castig's son, and Duke used to be in New York tomorrow for that. But I mean, I miss the business. I want to do it, but I mean, truthfully, I've got to wait to see what's what.
Well, I could tell you
I
this.
may need to borrow money from Ron. Ron, if this book's a big seller, I may need an investor.
Well, I'm just gonna go to Nelson.
Whoa.
You saw how quickly he turned that one around, right?
Right.
No,
That's
I
what
will go to
people-
Rob T.
I was gonna say,
Sure.
Rob is conspicuously silent.
Rob, I'm.
Hey, Rob, if you
Checks
sell
in the
all
mail.
those books behind you, we can open a restaurant.
Yeah, I'm looking at all these books. No, he said this is fictitious back there.
I want to ask Ron Bloomberg, wait a minute, about of all the pitchers you faced, because I love the parts in the book about Louis Tiant and Jim Palmer. You were able to hit Palmer pretty well.
Yeah, I hit him pretty good. But the toughest pitcher I have ever faced, and everybody, they always say, who's your toughest pitcher you ever faced? I said, none of them, because they're afraid of me. And, so that's a joke. They got a kick out of that. But the toughest pitcher I've ever faced was Bert Blyleven.
Great curveball,
The best.
killer curve.
I mean, the best curveball I've ever seen. I mean, I've never seen a curveball. I don't know. Hey, Sean, have you been out to many games before?
Me?
Yeah.
I've seen games in every stadium in the country.
Okay, so you leave your stadium. Okay, I know Nelson and I know Joe, but when you see like when you see a curveball that actually talks to you when it breaks, you got a curveball. This guy has a curveball that probably threw maybe 86, 87 miles an hour, but it would go from 12 to 6. It had like a buzz to it. And, you can hear it. Zzz. I mean, it was, when you have something like that, you got a special guy. And he was really, really special. He was tough for me. Some people hit him well, but I did not hit him well. He was tough. But, hey, this is what we did. I mean, I don't see how in the world did these guys pull so many muscles now in like their obliques. And I had no idea what an oblique was like 6 months ago. Never even heard of one before. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a hamstring, but they said it was on the side. I mean, y'all probably played stickball. I know that Sean never played stickball. Rob, you play stickball. And,
Of course.
yeah, and that's all you probably used to do. Did you ever pull an oblique before?
No.
No. Hey, Nelson, have you? Did you
No.
ever know what one was before?
No. Never heard
Nobody
of it.
knew what one was. Nobody knew what. But
Ron, did you lift weights a lot when you were? I mean,
I never lifted weights at all. No.
you were
Only
just
thing I did know. Everything was, the guy up above gave me the ability to, whatever. I was always, I was always too big and strong. And people say, how are you too big and strong? I was too tight. I didn't have the, I never ever touched touched the floor with my hands, without bending my knees. But the Yankees, when I started getting injured, they sent me to the New York City Ballet and to take stretching, and it did work. But the problem is, it's like a month and a half before spring training, and you do exercises and stuff, but you still tighten up. So I just didn't have that elastic. I can't even say it. Where I wasn't like a rubber band.
And your personal trainer didn't help you with this?
I wish I had personal trainers. My personal trainers. What are you talking about? Hey, you personal trainers. We had nothing personal on our team. The funny part about it, I used to go to Yankee Stadium and Derek Jeter took my locker. Okay. When I used to go to Old Timers Day, I used to have like 2, 3 pairs of shoes and maybe 4 or 5 bats in my locker. I used to go to Derek. He had like 200-300 pairs of shoes, about 150 bats. It feels like you're going to Modell's. It feels like you're going to Modell's. I mean, it's like a store. It's like no, seriously. You got gloves, you got bats, you got balls. I mean, you got everything in there. Our little, it's a beautiful locker, but we had like 2 gloves and about 2-3 pairs of shoes. But I mean, he had like a different pair of shoes every time he took like 25 steps. And he got paid what, a few $1 million to wear those shoes. Only thing what we got when we wore those shoes, they gave us an extra pair of shoes. That's the only thing they gave us. But hey, it was fun. But we had fun. It was the best. Sean was in the best city in the world. He was.
Yes, sir.
It's the greatest city in the world. It's still the best city in the world. But you know what we did have? We had the best fans in the world. And Rob, you know, I didn't say to him anything because he's a big Met fan.
I'm not just a Met fan. I told you I
He has
got
to tell
banned
us
from
the
Yankees.
story. He has to tell us the story before.
Yeah, wait, before we go, tell us the story. Why did you get banned from Yankee Stadium? Tell me. Honestly, honest.
I was covering baseball, and I wrote a couple of features about the Mets. So I wrote a really good feature on when they had a Subway Series, you know, in the middle of the season. And it made the front page of the Huffington Post and had great interviews with a lot of the players from both teams. And so I called the Yankees to get a press pass. And they put some kid on who must have been all about 12 years old. And he said, I'd like to know what the subject of your article will be about. And I said, well, you could look up my column in today's paper, or I could give you a detail of what it'll be. And he said, yes, tell me. And I said, the game hasn't played yet, so it's really none of your effing business. And he said, you're denied a press pass. And I just said, I'm a member of the press. Go look me up. Go look at People Magazine. I'm not, you know, I can't tell you what the article is going to be about. I never heard of such a thing in my life. And so then the editor called and said, he's denied credentials. So I wrote a really mean article about the Yankees and called them an evil empire.
Really? So
Yeah,
you actually
Phil Mushnick jumped in from the Post and said, yes, you're right. They are evil.
So you actually
wasn't a
never
nice
got
thing
into
for
the
them to
stadium. So you never actually got into the stadium.
Well, not to cover that series. No, I've been back, but I'm not as a member of the press, just as a civilian and a fan. But I mean, growing up, I went to Yankee Stadium constantly, especially it was easier to afford Yankee Stadium when I was in high school than it is now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all my friends used to be in Con Edison, Earl Batty. I don't know if you remember Earl Batty in center field.
Yeah.
You know, the Con Edison kids.
Con Ed kids, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, I think they paid like 10 cents a piece or 15 cents a piece. But, oh, yeah, I don't see how people.
In the 1970s, a general admission seat was about $1.25 or $1.75 just for an upper deck. It was great.
Yeah.
You got a hot dog for like $1.50. Now you got to pay $20. $22.
Gentlemen,
You know, it's going to cost you $50 for, you know, a hot dog and a drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know we're running a little bit behind schedule now, so we're gonna have to call this tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Take care,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you for
Pleasure
doing
to be
this,
here.
Nelson, Mr.
And Sean, come back. We miss you.
Sean, anything we could do, please. You have my
Anything.
number.
Rob T.
No.
You have my email. Call me. Let me know. I'm there for you.
All right, I
Rob
appreciate it.
Absolutely, Sean.
Sean, Nelson, I want to let you know, thank y'all very much.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Y'all are the best. Y'all are the ones that made New York. And I know Sean's coming back to New York to be a star again. And I know Nelson is going to be another star. And I know Rob T is going to get thrown out of another a game. So
I
it's going
might
to be
throw him out of the
fun.
Hampton Fish Club just so he feels comfortable.
Okay.
Always. I'm always
Rob.
welcome at the Hunt and Fish Club.
Rob, you're the first person barred out of Foley's 2.0.
We love y'all.
Thanks.
Have a great evening,
Thank
big
you,
guys.
Thanks,
Nelson,
everybody.
Rob,
All
Sean,
right.
thank y'all very much. We love y'all. We
All
love
right,
y'all, big
guys.
guys. Bye-bye,
Bye.
y'all. Bye-bye.
Sean, thank you again.
Welcome, Joe. Take care, buddy.
Thank you, Sean. Love you, big guy. Be careful.
Talk to you soon.
Because
All right.
Joe,
Hold on.
hello?
Sorry. Hold on 1 second.
Hello?
Yes, hold on.